Welcome back, everybody. WHIP Radio in Philadelphia. WHIP time is 11:35. We have a fantastic national championship game for you tonight between Wisconsin and Duke. Will it be Bo Ryan getting his first Division I championship, or will Coach Gay get his fifth? And now joining us on the hotline is one of the best young coaches in the game. We've seen him a lot in the American Athletic Conference, as obviously we broadcast the Temple games, and that is the head coach of your Memphis Tigers, and that's Josh Pastner. Josh, it's Zach and Chase here in Philly. Thanks for a few minutes. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing really, really well. Thanks for having me on, and it should be a great basketball game tonight with two great teams, so looking forward to watching it.
No doubt about that. And I was doing some research on you before your show, and I know you were on that Arizona team that won the national championship game in 1997. But when I was reading your biography, I found out you got your bachelor's degree in 2.5 years. How did you do that? Because that's remarkable.
You're right on that. I got my bachelor's degree in 2.5 years. I had no units coming in, nor did I take any summer school. My freshman year, I completed 45 hours between my fall and spring semester. My sophomore year, my third and fourth semesters of college, I completed 42 hours, which gave me 87. You need 120 to graduate. So my fifth semester of college, I took all 33 hours my fifth semester. I was in class from like 8 to 1 every day, and I got my bachelor's degree in 5 semesters. In my 6th semester of college, I did 18 hours of master's work. In my 7th semester of college, I did 15 hours of master's work plus my thesis, which gave me my master's. And then in my 8th semester, I did a couple units of PhD and some undergraduate stuff. But in 7 semesters, I got a bachelor's and master's, no units coming in, no summer school. And I also was a student athlete at the time because I played on the basketball team there at the University of Arizona, and was on the team in 1997 that won the national title. So I believe in time management. Anyone who says they can't get things done and make, put things in order, I don't want to hear it. And the reason people ask, why did you graduate so fast? Well, I knew what I wanted to become. I knew the chances of me playing in the NBA as a basketball player was basically, as I got older, was slim to none. When I realized when I was in high school, as much as it was a dream of mine, it wasn't going to happen. I just was, I was a good shooter, and that was about it. But I knew the game, but I realized and recognized I wasn't going to play in the NBA. Well, I knew when I was going to college, I wanted to coach, and I wanted to coach in Division I men's basketball, and I felt, what would separate something when you're meeting presidents and deans of universities and athletic directors than the rest of the competition. And I felt, how serious I am about academics, because when you're dealing with university, academics, you're a student before an athlete. And so that's why I had graduated to say, hey, boom, 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 this is why, I'm extremely serious, and that's why I got my bachelor's and master's in 7 semesters. Well, the funny thing is, when I got the job here at Memphis, I got the job in shorts and T-shirt, and after about 7 days after Coach Calipari went to Kentucky because nobody wanted to follow him, and they didn't ask about my academics thing. They just said, do you want the job? Because they needed someone to take the job, because about the other 200 people before me turned it down because nobody wanted to follow Calipari, so I was the crazy guy that followed him.
Well, and you're a lot more intelligent than us, and you were the true definition of a student athlete and what it's like to be a diligent college student. So that Arizona team that you won the championship with, what do you remember about that run?
Well, I remember that run that we were not the best team in the country. We lost our last 2 games before going into the NCAA tournament. We lost on the road trip at Stanford, at Cal. And then we were going into the NCAA tournament, and we were down 10. We were down 10 to South Alabama with about 5 minutes to go. It was actually played here in Memphis at the Pyramid at the time. We were down 10 against Coach Monson's team. Coach. Who was the coach at the time? I forget. Maybe it was Coach Monson. I can't remember. I don't think it was him. He was a long time in the NBA as well too. But anyway, it slips my mind. But he's unfortunately has passed away. But to make a long story short, we were down 10. We ended up, when we were played horrible, we found a way to get the W. And it was Musselman. That's who it was. It was a Coach Musselman's team. His father's team, not the one who just got the Nevada job. It was Coach Musselman from who was at the time at South Alabama, the head coach, his father. Well, anyway, then the next game we played College Charleston, and we hit we were 8 of 8 from the free throw line in the last minute of the game to win the game, and we wound up winning by 4. And then we went, and we were a 4 seed, and then we were going to Birmingham, Alabama, to play Kansas, which was 36-1 at the time, 36-1. They were 36-1. 35-1, excuse me, 35-1. They were the best team in the country by hands down, and we ended up beating Kansas. It was a remarkable game. For that one night, we were better than Kansas, and then probably playing them another 7 times, they would have beat us the next 7. But for that one night, we were better. And then in the Elite Eight, I remember we had to beat Providence in overtime to advance to the Final Four, and then we beat North Carolina, which was Dean Smith's last game to ever.
Wow.
Vote. And then we beat Kentucky in the championship. So we're the only team ever to beat 3 number 1 seeds to win the whole thing, and that was, at that time, Kansas, North Carolina, and Kentucky, 3 number 1 seeds, the only time it's ever been done.
Some of the best storytelling right now with Josh Pastner, the head coach of the Memphis Tigers. Josh, in the short time that you had the luxury of being under Calipari, what were some of the most valuable lessons that he taught you, both as a person and as a basketball coach, that you have used since then and still use up to now?
Excuse me. Well, Coach Calipari is obviously, I think he's the best in the game today, probably regardless of level, pro, college, high school. I just think he's tremendous, and when you're talking all facets of the game, and deservedly so, he's going to be officially inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame. But you know I don't think he gets enough credit for his coaching. I mean, his teams, when you're talking about the talent that he has, but to get them to play so hard, always very, very good defensively. His teams are always top, one of the 2 or 3 best in the country every single year defensively. His teams are always one of the very best rebounding-wise. Those 2 stats are really about effort. And so when you're having your team, and especially at those level of players, playing so hard, that's a direct reflection on the coach. And you know, he's a master motivator, master marketer, a genius businessman. He's got the total package. So you know, we're seeing something that's unprecedented right now. I mean, you know, as in terms of the recruiting success and everything else, and it's only going to be a matter of time where he wins another national championship and maybe even 2 more.
I still can't believe that his team lost, because that was a team that's 38-0. I was convinced they were winning the national championship game and running the table, and they just ran into a really good Wisconsin team, and that's what you're going to get into the Final Four. Did you get a chance to talk to Coach Calipari following the game leading up to now, and if so, what did you guys talk about?
Well, let me just say this. I did talk to him on Sunday morning, and he was, you know, we were talking a little bit on Sunday morning, but it wasn't a huge surprise. I mean, it would have been a huge surprise if Wisconsin beat, you know, maybe the Philadelphia 76ers or the New York Knicks. I mean, they beat Kentucky. I mean, how many guys on Kentucky's a really good team, but the reality of it is they might have one guy on their team that could play in the NBA All-Star game, and Karl Anthony Towns. I don't know if anyone else is going to play in the NBA All-Star game off of that team. I mean, they got college guys. I mean, they're talented. They got a lot of talent, but Wisconsin's pretty good in themselves, and so I didn't see it as like they were just, you know, this team that had 10, you know, legit pros and 10 first-round draft picks. I don't know on that. I think they're talented, but I don't think they're such where it's just an overwhelming, literally like an NBA team. They're not. It wasn't even. So I didn't look at it as that much of an upset. I think Wisconsin's pretty good, and of course Kentucky was very good, but they were very beatable. I mean, that was the bottom line. They didn't. You know, it wasn't. It would be a different thing if they had, if you could say, I mean, they got 4 guys on that team that are potential NBA All-Stars. That's a different deal. I mean, who's maybe Karl Anthony Towns? I mean, is that the only one that has a chance? I mean, based on right now, I mean, I think they've got other guys who are going to play in the NBA, but at what level in the NBA? But you could say the same for Wisconsin. They got 2 guys for sure, in Kaminsky and Decker. So it's, you know, heck, Duke. You know, I mean, Okafor's, of anyone in the Final Four, Okafor is probably a surefire bet to maybe be an all-star. I mean, Tyus Jones is off.
For sure.
So those type of things, I don't think he was as huge upset as people make it out to be.
Yeah, and also throughout the entire season, a lot of teams took Kentucky down to the wire and almost beat them, but the Wildcats definitely are a fantastic team. When you look at the matchup tonight, Coach, Duke, Wisconsin, two teams, as you said, with a lot of talent, two very good coaches, obviously, in Mike Krzyzewski and Bo Ryan, who I think is one of the more underrated coaches in college basketball. How do you see things playing out tonight?
Well, I think it's going to be a great game. I do think if Wisconsin can recover from the high of beating Kentucky, I think they'll win tonight. But I do think Duke's really good, and they're young. They've got a bunch of freshmen, but they're really talented. I think it's an extremely evenly matched game. I think a lot depends on how Wisconsin handles the win versus Kentucky, but also I just think the guard play at Duke is very, very good. They got really good guards and Tyus Jones and Quinn Cook and Justice Winslow is a matchup problem.
Very good player
for a lot of guys. So, but those two guards that Duke has, are really, really good. They might have a slight advantage in the guard play there, and then Wisconsin might have a slight advantage in the front court.
Josh Pastner is our guest. A few more questions with him. So let's say if you were Bo Ryan, how do you control your team? I know it's a national championship game. I know that your team understands what's at stake for tonight, trying to get your coach his first Division I championship and get that redemption from last year and winning it all when they got so close from a year ago. But how do you just quickly forget about what happened with Kentucky and bring your best effort tonight if you were inside that locker room?
Look, you want the guys to enjoy the victory, and so they did enjoy it, but now they got to get focused in and locked in, and they're going to have to do a great job guarding Okafor and really now have that same type of intensity and enthusiasm and passion going into playing Duke, and it does come down to they got to make shots. Look, I thought when they played Arizona played outstanding. I just thought Wisconsin played just in a whole nother level, and that's how they're going to have to be. They're going to have to be where they're making shots and they're making big plays, and they do that. They're just really good. But Duke was also good against Michigan State as well too. I mean, Coach K said it was his best team his team that of all his teams in the Final Four is the best they ever played in that game versus Michigan State. I do want to say this, guys, because you're up in Philly. My dad is from Philly, and he was a ball boy for the 76ers.
Oh, wow.
Ball boys now these days where you just, little kids, but he was like a true manager. He worked for the 76ers, and with Will Chamberlain, he was friends with Will, and he actually taped the game reel to reel, him and his father in the 100-point game,
no way.
When it was in the second quarter at 33 or 36 points, him and his father thought this was going to be special. They taped it reel to reel. They had two tapes. They gave it to Wilt's mother, and they gave it to Wilt. If I'm not mistaken, I think Wilt gave it back to my dad. He's got all these boxes, and he's got it somewhere. He's just got to find it because my dad's father had only missed 3 games in the history of the Eagles football, and so he was a 50-year ticket holder. I think there's 3 games twice, and once was with the war, and 2 others for whatever reason. And it was actually my dad was watching the Eagles-Cowboys game on television, and my dad's dad had died of a heart attack in his seat in the Eagles game as a 50-year season ticket holder, and they actually put a name on his on the seat there. But in all these boxes that when my grandfather passed away, they have all these boxes, and my dad just needs to go through it, and because he's got pictures of him and Will. Will used to drink 7-Up during timeouts, and my dad would carry cases of 7-Up. He used to tell me into the before the games because he would have to pour 7-Up. He wouldn't drink water, and he has all kinds of amazing stories of in the huddle. I mean, like when they were playing against the Celtics, he would travel to Boston with the team, and all his friends would say they would see him cleaning the floor up, the eggs. They would throw eggs on the floor, and he'd be up there in the timeouts cleaning the floor up because they'd be throwing eggs on the floor. Will Chamberlain's legs are so big, they took out the front seat of his car. It's really him sitting in the back seat and drive because his legs are so big. So, really amazing stories. So I understand Philly sports tradition, and I used to go to when I was younger, I would go to the Phillies game with my dad. I remember one of my favorite guys was Mike Schmidt. Man, I remember all that. July 4th when they'd be in the
Michael Jack, baby.
I remember all that good stuff.
Wow, that's absolutely a phenomenal story as Josh Pastner joins us on the way out here, Coach. And you could send some of those boxes over here. We'll gladly go through them for free and try to get you back that information. But getting back to the game tonight, a big key that I think, because last time these two teams played, and I know it was early December and you can't really take much from that matchup, but Decker wasn't 110% healthy, only had 5 points in this game. How does Duke guard the Wisconsin perimeter shooters? Because they've been unconscious like in this tournament.
Yeah, I don't think that game earlier meant anything. I mean, not that it meant anything because it was a high-level game, but you can't look at what that was then. I mean, that was back before, even before we got to the new year. So two teams are playing totally different. It's a different arena. It's a neutral site in a dome. And I just think it comes down to if Decker's making a bunch of threes, man, like he did against Arizona or like how he's playing against Kentucky, it makes it awfully tough on him.
Coach, last one for me. Given that Philadelphia has such a passionate, dedicated, and intense fan base, and you are familiar with that, has that helped you as a head coach down in Memphis, where people down there in Tennessee take the basketball very, very seriously?
Well, the coaching here at Memphis is like coaching, in Philly. I mean, with the intensity that's like none other.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like being the coach of the Yankees. It's like being the coach of, the Eagles. That's what it's like. I mean, you're under a complete microscope. It's extreme intensity. If you lose, you can't go in public because you're just, people are just so mad. And if you win, man, you can go to any restaurant. You're getting a free meal. So, it's just one of those things that, that's the intensity of sports. Memphis Tiger Nation here is so emotionally invested into their team that they care so much about it. Like, that's just, it matters. It really matters on how the city and people feel the next day, the next 2 days, whether you win or lose. And there's, so you have that. Also, following Coach Calipari makes it definitely an intense job. But Coach Calipari said it many, many times. Of all the places he's been at, he's been head coach at Kentucky, head coach in the New Jersey Nets in the NBA, head coach at UMass. He's been the head coach at Memphis. He said of all the places he's ever been at, the hardest and toughest job with the most intense fan base, and this includes Kentucky, and the New Jersey Nets, he said, is the University of Memphis.
Well, Coach, we appreciate the time today. I'm sure we'll catch up with you next time you play the Temple Owls. Best of luck. I hope you enjoy the game watching it tonight. And happy holiday season to you and your family. Aziz and Pesach, we appreciate it, Coach.
Okay, appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on anytime.